fire alarm went off during finals week, and then I got a text from my ex. I'm sorry for what's about to happen. The fire alarm ripped through the exam hall, and I looked down at my phone. The message was from Declan, my ex-boyfriend, who I hadn't spoken to in 3 months. I'm sorry for what's about to happen. My hands started shaking. Professor Dalton was already shouting for everyone to evacuate, students grabbing backpacks and heading for exits, but I couldn't move. What did Declan mean? What was about to happen? I typed back with trembling fingers, "What are you talking about?" The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. My heart hammered against my ribs. Around me, the room was emptying fast, the alarm shrieking without pause. My roommate Isla grabbed my shoulder, asking why I wasn't moving. What was wrong? I showed her the text and watched all the color drain from her face in an instant. She said we needed to leave right now, that whatever Declan was planning, we had to get out of this building immediately. Another text came through before I could stand up. "I loved you, and you destroyed me. Now you'll understand what that feels like." Isla was pulling my arm, physically dragging me out of my seat toward the door. We joined the flood of students in the hallway, everyone moving in the same direction. That's when I smelled it. Smoke. Not the fake smell of a drill, but real smoke. The crowd started pushing harder, panic spreading like wildfire. Isla's hand slipped from mine, and suddenly there were 3 people between us. I tried to push through, but the crowd was too thick, too panicked, everyone shoving toward the exit. My phone buzzed again, and I looked down while being carried along by the crowd. "You're probably scared right now." "Good. Now you know how I felt every day after you left." The smoke was getting thicker, curling along the ceiling in dark tendrils. I could hear fire alarms going off on multiple floors now. This wasn't a drill. This was real. Declan had done something to the building. Students were coughing and pointing at smoke. Isla found me in the chaos and grabbed my shoulders. She was asking if I still had my phone, if I'd gotten more messages, if I'd called the police yet. I shook my head, unable to form words. My brain stuck on those texts. "I'm sorry for what's about to happen. You destroyed me. Now you'll understand." A campus security officer was nearby trying to organize the chaos, shouting instructions that no one was following. I pushed through the crowd toward her, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. I showed her my phone screen with Declan's texts, and her expression changed instantly from annoyed to alarmed. She spoke urgently into her radio, words I couldn't quite hear over the noise of sirens that were already approaching. Within minutes, a man in plain clothes appeared next to us, a detective badge clipped to his belt. He introduced himself as Detective Carver and asked me to tell him everything about Declan I could remember. I told him about the jealousy that had consumed Declan during our 2 years together, the way he'd check my location constantly through that app he'd insisted we both download, the accusations of cheating whenever I talked to any guy, the night 3 months ago when I'd come home to find him inside my apartment even though I'd never given him a key. He'd cooked dinner, set the table with candles, expected me to be grateful for the surprise. That's when I'd ended it, told him to leave, locked the door behind him, but it hadn't ended there. Detective Carver was taking rapid notes in a small notebook, his pen moving fast across the page. He asked if Declan had ever made specific threats. I said not directly, but he'd said things that seemed harmless at the time but now took on darker meanings. Things like, "You'll regret this," and "You'll be sorry when I'm gone," and "I'll make sure you never forget me." At the time, I'd thought he meant he'd become successful, and I'd realized my mistake leaving him. Detective Carver's radio crackled. Someone was reporting that the fire had started in 3 different locations simultaneously on different floors. Declan had done this. My ex-boyfriend had set fire to a building full of students taking finals because I'd broken up with him. More emergency vehicles were arriving now. The smoke was getting worse, and flames were visible. Detective Carver said they'd traced the texts from my phone to a location about 3 miles from campus, that officers were being dispatched there right now. My phone rang. Declan's name on the screen. My hand froze, unable to answer, just staring at his name while the phone kept ringing. The detective immediately took my phone from my shaking hand and answered on speaker. He identified himself as Detective Carver. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Declan's voice came through, strange in a way I'd never heard before. "Where's Whitney? She should be answering her own phone." The detective said I'd asked him to intervene on my behalf, that we were trying to understand the situation and help resolve it peacefully. Declan laughed. Of course she did. Always running away, always getting someone else to fix her problems for her. Never had the guts to face me herself. Full story on my channel and linked below.